October 7, 2025. A $70 million convoy of Chinese-made PLZ-05 was moving towards the border. Its destination: the Belgorod front, the gateway to Ukraine's defense lines. The convoy was Russia's latest hope to revive its Kharkiv offensive. A shipment of self-propelled howitzers, fresh ammunition, and fuel trucks guarded by Tor M2 air defenses and an escort helicopter. But Russians did not know that Ukraine was watching and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. A small Switchblade confirmed the target, and within minutes, 25 more descended from the trees. The result? Total annihilation. The silence was shattered. The forest lit up like a furnace. This was not any luck. This was a perfect plan. A perfect ambush executed with patience, precision, and strategy. This is the story of how Ukraine lured Russia's weapons convoy into the dark and erased it from the map. At 4:13 a.m. in the shadows of the Belgorod woods, a Russian Tor M2 air defense system launched a 9M338 missile into the sky. The target was a tiny Ukrainian reconnaissance drone. It was struck and disappeared in a flash. On the ground, a Chinese crew was escorting a $70 million PLZ-05 convoy. After witnessing the explosion of the Ukrainian drone, they erupted into cheers, convinced that the danger was gone. They believed the sky was clear now, but they had no idea that the dying drone, in its final moments, had transmitted an accurate data burst to its operators, including the exact layout of the convoy, truck by truck. On the other hand, Ukrainian controllers were not celebrating. They were not cheering. They were waiting, strategizing, and executing their plan one by one. Commercial satellites spotted the shipment of Chinese PLZ-05 artillery being unloaded at the port of Vladivostok. From that moment, a chain of tiny eyes began to shadow the shipment. These were 5.5-pound Switchblade 300 drones flying at 10,000 feet. They started transmitting encrypted data through Starlink. Automated systems analyzed radio communications and identified the command vehicle. Even ordinary actions like where drivers stopped, how they refueled, were recorded and predicted. This was not just a cargo run. It was the first delivery of a billion-dollar arms deal with China to shift the front lines. So how can you neutralize a moving target protected with armored vehicles, elite escorts, and advanced air defenses? You don't try to slug it out. You make the battlefield betray itself. You shadow it with small eyes. You patiently wait for the moment when it becomes the most vulnerable. This is exactly what Ukraine did. Controllers waited until the convoy was trapped beneath the canopy and then unleashed a coordinated swarm that turned rolling armor into instant disaster. At 4:15 a.m., an operator inside an M113 flipped a switch, causing chaos inside Russian controller rooms. 25 FPV drones, each carrying a 2-pound-shaped charge warhead, screamed into the sky. They were not flying in a straight line. Instead, they followed unpredictable paths, each drone angling independently towards a different truck to overwhelm defenses. This is the Phantom Swarm in action, a tactic built to confuse sensors, not men. A Tor M2 designed to intercept fast and clear threats struggled to lock on to this swarm of tiny, unpredictable drones. Everything was going according to plan. Then came a counterattack. A Russian Orion 10 drone, not just observing but trying to hunt the swarm. Now, the hunter was at risk of becoming the hunted. If the Russian drone located the swarm position, the entire mission would end in catastrophic failure within 10 seconds. At 4:16 a.m., the operator of Orion 10 identified that something was wrong. He made a call to the Spetsnaz escort directly. They responded fast by immediately deploying an LPD-801 anti-drone gun, a weapon capable of killing with invisible energy waves. The plan worked. 3 Ukrainian FPVs suddenly fell from the sky. The operator sitting inside the M113 felt a sudden shock as 3 of his screens went dark. He snarled with a tight voice, "We have lost 3." The illusion of the ghost swarm suddenly collapsed. On the convoy, the commanders hurried, wasting no time. The drivers accelerated their rigs with a desperate speed of 40 miles per hour. Then, the Russian commander launched 2 more Orlan 10 drones to widen the search pattern and hunt the source of interference. For Ukraine, everything changed in an instant. The drones were no longer unseen. They were targets. The Spetsnaz were not just hunting drones now. They were after the signal controlling them. Every time M113's link was active, it transmitted its position and the Spetsnaz were attentive. At 4:17 a.m., the operator inside the M113 stopped trying to dodge and started to deceive. He activated the echo trap. This technology listened to Orlan's command frequency, recorded it, and then transmitted back a perfect time-delayed echo of that same signal. The Russian drone's feed started picking up its own command echoed back, and its navigation logic frayed like a compass in a storm. On screen, the Orlan's reported position drifted away from reality. Its operator struggled with phantom telemetry that pointed him in the wrong direction. The Russian eyes had been fooled. Now the operator inside M113 launched the Switchblade 600, a silent, long-range hunter, climbing fast into the twilight. It was a 50-pound weapon that could climb up to 15,000 feet into the sky. Its sensors hunted for heat. Its guidance locked onto Orlan's engine signature while the enemy drone whirled in confusion below. When the strike came, it was sudden and devastating. Metal tore apart, electronics vaporized, and the Orlan was shredded into a burst of smoke and falling fragments. The sky went silent, but the silence brought a different terror. Not for Ukrainians, but for Russians watching their eye in the sky get blown out of existence. On the other hand, for Ukrainians, it was a brilliant tactical victory. But there was one thing that Russians knew for sure. The enemy was close and armed with serious firepower. It was 4:18 a.m. when the Spetsnaz commander became furious after watching his eye get exploded in the sky by an unseen enemy. He had watched an expensive drone being shredded. Now he wanted retaliation. So, he did not send another fragile drone. Instead, he called for something far bigger. A Ka-52 Alligator attack helicopter was called. A heavy armored hunter with rockets and radar that could reach out for targets miles away. Its mission was simple. Find the source of the strike and eliminate it at once. The Alligator's thermal sensors penetrated the tree canopy. A dim, rectangular heat patch appeared on the pilot's screen. It was the faint engine signature of the hidden M113. The helicopter locked on its target. Inside the M113, the Ukrainian operator suddenly saw a red icon flashing on his warning display. It was a laser-guided missile lock. The display read a chilling line. Missile track. Impact in 20 seconds. Panic followed. The operator knew that his position was located and there was nowhere to disappear. He responded with speed. He did not try to evade. He planned a counterpunch. A canister emitted a hiss from the M113's roof, popping open and releasing a dense aerosol cloud that expanded into the night. It was a specifically engineered thermal decoy, a manufactured bonfire meant to seduce heat-seeking seekers. To the seeker head of the incoming missile, the decoy was a far brighter target than the vehicle it was tracking. The missile struck the fake blaze and exploded harmlessly in the air. However, even a dodged missile was not the end of the danger. The Ka-52 pilot, being furious, positioned weapons for another attack. But this time, the M113 operator responded quicker than him. launching a small FPV drone carrying a small, powerful EMP head. The drone approached the helicopter's proximity. On the screen of KA-52, the drone appeared as a deviation and the pilot dismissed it. As the drone approached the helicopter, the operator triggered the explosion. Within the KA-52's cockpit, the world died, not with a blast, but with a hush. Inside, the advanced weapon systems died in an instant. The pilot was left piloting a 12-ton machine with his instruments gone. Now, without his machinery, what could Alligator do? So the pilot turned back, his mission aborted. The last most dangerous threat had been neutralized without a single direct hit. Now, the sky was quiet and clear. The convoy route was wide open. This was what Ukraine was waiting for. The perfect moment to cause a $70 million loss to the Russian economy. At 4:21 a.m., the operator of the M113 looked at his screen. His 22 remaining drones were still alive, circling in a perfect predatory orbit. He took a breath and pressed execute. What happened afterwards resembled a revolt against physics. The swarm folded inward, every drone diving simultaneously, slicing through fog and branches at over 120 miles per hour. Each one was equipped with a compact shaped charge, targeting the convoy's most vulnerable area, the fuel tanks. The first strike was not a dull thud. It was a sharp metallic crack as a 2-pound shaped charge struck the 0.4-inch steel plate of the lead truck. For a brief moment, there was sheer silence. Then a white flame erupted through the truck. 600 gallons of diesel were on fire, and the forest exploded with a sound like the world splitting apart. Truck after truck erupted, a cascading wave of destruction ripping down the line. Ukraine did not just strike a convoy. It transformed $70 million of imported artillery into a melted junkyard. Fireballs climbed through the trees, tires and shells exploded in the sky, and shadows danced in the inferno. The details behind the strike revealed the brilliance of the attack. The fuse on the warhead was deliberately programmed with a delay of 0.7 seconds. In that time, the warhead broke through the steel wall and then exploded. The shaped charge focused its entire energy into a single needle-thin jet of molten metal and sliced through the fuel tank. The blast triggered secondary explosions in nearby vehicles. One by one, the trucks erupted in fire and the whole convoy tore apart from the inside out. Almost 15 PLZ-05 howitzers, 20 military trucks, and almost 40 Russian and Chinese personnel were eliminated in just 3 minutes. The strike did not just destroy equipment. It unraveled Russia's front. Communications collapsed and the artillery support vanished before ever reaching the front. The Belgorod forest may have gone silent, but the shockwaves from the strike are still echoing across the front. For Ukraine, it was more than a tactical win. It was proof that patience and precision can shatter power itself. If this strike blew your mind, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Stay tuned for the next breakdown.